Hello, everyone. Welcome to NinjaTalks. We are going to talk about exciting stuff, highlight experiences, learning, and tips that help experts become better. I'm your co host, Riya.
And I'm your co host, Sneh. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Ninja Talks. We are having a techie from the heart of the Silicon Valley, a public speaker, and a solo traveler, Miss Riya Dashoriya. Hello, Riya. Welcome to our show. We are super excited to have you with us.
Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here as well.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. It's been a really wonderful day so far. The weather is nice. Everything looks happy today.
A great start. So, your journey started with Google Developers Group Udaipur in India, and currently you are leading Google Developers Group San Francisco, Women Tech Makers San Francisco, and other communities. How does it feel, and how has that transition impacted your journey?
Well, it's been a really wonderful 6 years so far. As you mentioned, I actually started my journey back in 2014 with GDG Udaipur. It was around the same time, so it's been almost 6.5 years now. When I joined GDG community, I had no idea what I was getting into. The only thing I was told was, hey, there is a Google group. Do you want to be a part of that? And for me at that time, I was so naive. Like, I was like, oh, sure, it is something Google. I don't know what I'm getting into, but sure, I'll do whatever is needed. It will just help me get good credentials, add good things on my resume, because I was at that time I was doing my bachelor's degree, and for me what's more important was how to get admission for master's degree and then how to get a job. So I thought that will be a good addition to my resume. So I was like, yay, sure, let's do this thing. And then when I started with GDG community, I realized it's a lot. It's way different than what I was thinking. It isn't even what I was thinking, and that somehow impacted rest of my career. That made me know, like, there are so many wonderful people in tech community. There is a lot in tech than what I was thinking. And coming from a background in which there's like no one in tech industry, being a part of GDG helped me know so many things for which I was unaware about for years. And then as soon as like I graduated, I had to leave GDG community. I moved to a different continent. I moved to United States for my master's degree. And then I was like, okay, now I need to focus on my master's degree. I cannot be a part of GDG community at that time. So I had to take a break from GDG for almost 2 years. And then when, like, due to some circumstances, everything in my life started going downhill while I was working, and I needed a big distraction. And the best thing that I could think of was GDG community, because I remember how happy I was when I was a part of GDG Udaipur. So I reached out to the local community back in Salt Lake City where I was living and working there. And then I asked them, like, hey, I was a GDG organizer back then. I would love to join GDG community back again. And then when I joined the community again back in 2018, I would say, I things started going completely fine after that, because I was keeping myself busy as well as I was learning a lot more. Then when I moved places again last year, I was like, this is something that was on top of my list. This is something that I want to continue with. So when I moved to San Francisco last year, the community is here, GDG Cloud San Francisco. I joined that community first, and then after 4 months, I joined GDG San Francisco, and I have been with them ever since. It's been really amazing journey so far.
I know that you have an amazing experience with public speaking, both technical and non technical fields. And you have spoken at prestigious conferences like GDG Global Lead Summits, GDG North America Academy. Recently, you spoke in PHP UK and multiple efforts, focusing on accessibility and internationalizations. So, how did you study and what inspired you to be the part of these global conferences?
Initially, like because I've been with GDG for so long, when I moved to Salt Lake City, I was seeing like how people are speaking. I was mainly influenced by GDEs, to be honest. The Google developer experts. I've been like wow with GDEs for so long. So I was like trying to see and notice how they are doing public speaking, what they are doing, and that somehow made me feel like, oh, maybe I can try this thing. I don't have to do this forever, but I can at least try and see how I can do public speaking or if I can do public speaking. So last year, in 2019, one of my goal was to speak at one conference or a meetup. And that actually turned out in the end, it was like I spoke at 20 plus meetups and conferences. One of the GDG Denver organizer was looking for a women in tech speaker. And I was like, sure, like Denver was super close to Salt Lake City. I can go and I can maybe give a talk there. And then things worked out fine, and then I went there and I spoke, and then I realized like this is something I really love doing, and I would want to continue this more. That's how I got started with communities, with public speaking. And after giving that talk, I decided that I'm going to do it more. And then I started looking for different meetups, different conferences, and started applying to see like if I can speak or not. The best journey for me was like last year in September and October. I spoke at 5 TechFest across the North America. Those 5 TechFest were really like a turning point of my career. And with that, I started applying for like bigger conferences internationally. And that's how I got into London PHP UK conference, where I recently gave a talk there.
So, considering a huge number of conferences across the globe, there are a lot of conferences which focus on a particular technical or non tech domain, and then which include various domains, unlike just one. So, what are some of the domains or topics that you believe that deserve to be included more in conferences?
I might be partial with this thing because this is something that's super close to my heart. I have been a vocal advocate for accessibility over the last year, and this is something that should be included in every single thing. If in tech community we have to progress, we need to make sure that there are good tech communities. We support the organizers, we support the conferences, because that has been a turning point in my life. And I believe like that can help a lot more people, and that has a huge impact.
That's much needed, I think. A lot of people struggle with accessibility, not just in tech, but out in the world. So, yeah, I really appreciate that. Moving forward, cracking the nut to speak at global conferences, there are important cue points like getting speaker submissions accepted, preparing the right content for the audience, rehearsing for the conference, and so many things. So, what are the learnings and what are the unforgettable moments that you'd like to share?
One of my thing is like never be afraid to speak. If you think you know a specific topic, you don't really have to be an expert on any topic. This is like one of the common misunderstanding that I've seen in many people, and even I had that before I started public speaking. I used to think like, oh, I don't know this technology, I don't know if I should speak or not. What if someone else knows more about that? It's okay about that thing. You don't have to worry about that. In the audience of 80 people, there will be 60 people who don't know about anything you're talking about, and that's okay, and you are speaking for those 60 people. This is something you need to keep in mind. If you feel like you need to get into public speaking, don't be afraid. Just know a specific technology you are very enthusiastic about. Oh yes, like for me, I love accessibility, and I don't care what in accessibility I'm going to talk about. I love accessibility, and I'm going to share what I know. And just looking at that, I started applying for conferences with just like, okay, I just want to talk about accessibility in general. The conference organizers, they look at how enthusiastic your submission was, how much relevant it is for the conference. So make sure like when you're writing abstract, your title is somewhat relevant to the conference and is somewhat relevant to what the organizers are looking for. Because when you're submitting call for papers on Sessionize, on papercall.io, or even on Meetup, they have specifications regarding like what kind of technology they are looking for. So make sure your submission is related to that. That will help you get like that will help with your selection for the conference. Don't be like, oh, this meetup is small, so I don't want to speak there. Oh, this meetup is local, so I don't want to go there. I just want to go for big conferences. That's not how things work. If you love communities, you need to show it in every way. You need to speak at smaller meetups, you should speak at bigger conferences. It just, size doesn't matter in that way. It will help you build your portfolio, especially if you are a new speaker in the field. So don't think about the size of the audience as well. This is something like I personally like went into depression with. One of the talks I gave had like 5 people in the audience, and I felt so bad about that, because when I was speaking there, I just saw like, oh my god, there are only 5 people in the audience, and I didn't give my best. I didn't, because I freaked out because of looking at the number of people. That was my mistake. This is one of the biggest learning. Never be afraid about that. Even if it is just one person, be confident and deliver what you were supposed to deliver. Doesn't matter, one person or 100% or like 1,000 people are there in the audience, doesn't matter. Just do the best you can. Other than that, things that I have learned is, when someone asks you a questions after the, like at the end of the talk, and if you don't know, it's okay to say like, oh hey, I don't know about this thing, I can look into this more. And trust me, like someone from the audience will answer for you. Don't feel bad about that if you don't know something which someone asked. So these are some of the things that I learned in my speaking journey, and I really wish like if I had any idea, but those are like some good learnings for me. When you're giving a talk, sometimes if it's not like a specific conference, like when I'm at a conference about general web development, it's better to keep your topics, it's better to keep your talks at 101 level. That means like the basic, the beginner level. Please don't go too advanced with your topics, because the general audience might not even know what the basics are. So always try to have your talk for the beginners level.
A lot of conference these days allow different level of submissions where they have parallel slots, and I personally encourage that, because that gives a lot of flexibility and feasibility to the audience themselves to choose where they want to go, and that's a very small thing but really amazing thing, I believe. Talking about some adventures, what are some of the challenges that you have faced while starting your career? We see that a lot of influence have been there and you learned a lot.
I guess for me, like when I was transitioning from my master's degree to a work life, like working life, the biggest challenge was like I had no idea how to even get a job, because at that time I was like, in the entire time I was doing my master's degree, I was focusing on my grades. Like, no, because it's a 4 point, like in US, we have 4 pointer scale. So my focus was always like, oh, I need to get 4 pointers. I cannot live with 3.9. And even during my bachelor's degree, that was my focus. Like, oh, I need to get 10 out of 10. I cannot live with 9.99. So because my focus was entirely on my studies, I didn't even realize like the next thing that I should be looking forward to is like getting a job. And how to get a job, I had no idea. It's only like I did some Google research and like, oh, that's how you prepare for interviews. So I kind of feel like these are some things that I should have taken care of while I was studying, and not just focus only on grades. Because to be honest, like now when I'm like changing my jobs, or now when I like talk to people, no one asked me how much I scored on my master's degree. No one asked me how much I scored for my bachelor's degree or GRE or any of the exams that I gave. They only cared about what extra projects I did, what work I have done anywhere. So this is like one of my biggest learning. And because for me, like my family background, no one is in tech, none of my cousins are in tech field. In terms of family influence, I had no one to tell me like, oh, this is how you prepare for a job, or this is what like a job scenario looks like, or how a work life looks like. So I somehow got the job, and I was very lucky about that, to get a good manager. And then when I started working, I had like no idea what I was working on for like first 3 months, because I didn't even know like the programming languages they were using, the softwares they were using. And it took me solid like 2 to 3 months to learn every single thing about the working culture and how to handle work-life balance. I'm still not very good at handling work-life balance, I'm still trying to learn those things, but there are like these things initially when I moved, it was like really difficult because at that time I still had no influence in my life. But as soon as I like started working, I found few good mentors. There was a person in my team who was a senior software engineer. He like taught me a lot. I used to like see him, like how he's doing things, how he's planning for projects, how he's deciding, how he's taking decisions about a project or a software. Just looking at him, I learned more than I could ever learn in my master's degree or even in bachelor's degree. And like because of him, I would say, and because of like my manager, my supporting work culture, I was even promoted to a senior software engineer in just 2.5 years, which I never thought I will be able to. So all these things really influenced me.
What would be the biggest challenge for the next generation women, and how can they be empowered, including communities as one of the ways?
I think the best way would be to be vocal. If you are seeing something is not good, just be open about it. There will be many consequences. Like as a woman, I feel like if I'm saying something that will create more controversy than a guy saying the same thing. So, and it's going to happen eventually, but you need to speak up and be vocal about things that are not going good. Because if it's not you, the other person will also face the same challenges that you are facing. So let's just help make sure that the next person is safe and next person doesn't face the same challenges. This is like one of the things that I would really say, like just be vocal about things.
Great, that's much needed.
Yeah, and never think like, oh, because you're a woman you should not do this thing, or oh, because like this company has like no, like this company doesn't support women thing, you shouldn't do this thing. You can be the change. I was initially like, when I was looking for a job, I was told that, oh, we don't sponsor H1B visas, and I eventually got a job there. So it doesn't matter, like if it it just doesn't matter if someone's saying, oh, we don't have these things. They can change if they like you.
You're technically strong with a lot of frameworks, platforms, programming languages, and so on. How did you develop your learning skills and how do you unlearn something? Keep improving yourself.
Sure, that's a very good question because for me personally, like one of my goal from last 4 or 5 years, ever since I even started working or started doing my master's degree, one of my goal has been to learn one new technology every year. In the end, obviously, like I'm learning more than one technology, but the goal is to have learn at least one new technology every year. And because of that, I have had the opportunities to learn many different frameworks for front end. I did Angular, I have done Vue, and now I'm doing React. Similarly for the backend, I initially started with Java and then I moved on to Go, and now I'm doing PHP, which I never thought I will ever do PHP. Like I love to learn new things, and and just for that, I just like find out new technology which is going on. Like recently I'm like, oh, GraphQL is really good and something that I want to learn. And so I've been like looking for resources about that online. There are many resources like Free Code Camp, egghead.io, front end masters. If you're looking for front end courses, then there are like so many YouTube videos out by people. I look into all of them whenever possible. My best way of learning is just reading through the documentation, but some people might prefer like video concept or things like that. Other than that, the thing why I'm doing this is because I particularly feel like if I need to make my job interesting, if I need to survive in the tech world, I need to be aware of all the recent things happening. I don't need to know all the tech stuff, but I just want to be aware of like what are the terminologies, what's just the basics of these programming languages, just the basics of these technologies that's happening around, that are being used by people. So this is my motto, like I need to make, and trust me, like I cannot live a boring life, like I cannot live a monotonous 9 to 5 job life in order to survive. So that has been my mantra. Like after I'm done with my 9 to 5, I just usually pick up something as hobby, learn some new technology or just anything new. So this this is why like I've been like learning many new languages and just like be aware of everything. Like I never even use GCP, or to be honest, like I use the GCP Google Cloud Platform stuff barely, like for 30 minutes in an entire week, and I'm still like trying to learn more about GCP because I feel like that is something like a really good technology and I should be aware of. If not, it's fine if I don't have to work on that, but at least I know those things so that when I'm like talking with other friends and like we are in the community, like in the GDG cloud SF community, when everyone is talking about Google Cloud. And initially for the first few days I was like, oh my god, I have no idea what these people are even talking about, which is why I was like, okay, I need to learn these things to be make sure like, okay, now I know and I can also talk about that. Luckily for me, the place where I work, Quizlet, we also have one of our values is teach yourself something new. So which resonates with me and my personal goal of learning something new. So that my workplace has also been like very helpful with those things.
Okay, Riya. So people demand for a lot of good positions, good organizations, which is really appreciated. And everyone has inspirations, but majority of people, what they don't realize is they still get stuck between their work-life balance, or majority of the time they get in the burnout zone and they don't even realize. What measures do you think they should take or how to handle that?
Good question. Even this is something that I face every day. I feel like if I'm working constantly for 2 days alone, I feel like, oh God, now I'm burning out. And the thing is because we don't take breaks as much as we should. If your code is not working, if something is not fine, just take a break, take a small walk, go somewhere for 5 minutes, come back, and trust me, things will start working right then and there. Just realize like when you feel like, oh, it's not working and you are like already spent hours on it, you don't even need to go to that extent. Just take a break and things will be fine right after that. And also like realize if the entire culture is creating like is realize that the entire culture is if it is a part of the burn down experience. Because like when I was in my last job, I didn't realize when I was burned down. I was just like keeping like pushing it forward for days and days and things were not fine, and then I was like, oh, I just hate my job. No, you don't hate your job. You hate yourself because you didn't realize when you burned out and you just continued going with it. You just kept going with things. You thought like everything is fine. It's just you, it's not something else. Don't be like me. Just realize like when you feel like something is not going fine, either speak up or realize like, okay, this might be a time when you're burning out, and just take a break and think like what could be improved. How could you improve? Your job is 9 to 5 and that's okay. Like sometimes you might have to work more, but make sure that that's not a regular thing. It's you're getting paid for 8 hours for the day you're working. So don't go like, oh no, I'm working like 12 hours every single day. Sometimes you might have to do that. Like I can totally understand. Like sometimes it's okay, especially like when feature launches are happening, product is going out. That time I can understand like there's a total pressure, but also no, like right after that's done, just take a break for more. Just take a break after that.
I agree with you, Riya. Along with that, I want to ask one last question that is based on the current scenario that is happening all over the globe. People are working from home, and this sudden change, people used to work from home, that was one of the remote culture. So sudden change, how it's affecting the working culture of the global scenario, or how people are taking it.
I think this is the best time when companies will realize, or I think I really hope they realize like remote work is possible and it's not that bad as they thought it could be. Things are still going on, engineers are still coding, product is still going out even more than ever. For some people, working from home increased their productivity, whereas for other people, they felt like, oh, they are like kind of feeling like, oh, it's just too much and they can't work because they have kids and things. But remember, like, this is not an everyday situation. like for some people with families at home, this is a different situation. Whereas like if they are every day working from home, this is not normal. This is different. So I think this is a good time for companies to evaluate if work from home is possible, and if it is, then they should at least be supportive of people who really wants to like work remotely. Even for me, like I know many people who love this idea of working from home, and they have been like looking for such opportunity from a long time, like just try for a few days if they can work from home, and if things goes well, then maybe go with working from home for forever. So I think like this is a good time for testing for everyone, for companies to realize if it is feasible and yes it works, and for people to figure out if they can work or not.
If you had to be unconventional and share a few words from your life experience, what would they be?
Because I feel like everyone is living an unconventional life. Everyone's like trying to step out of boundaries, trying to cross the limits, even if there are none.
Right.
And I think in this world, I always feel like you should just be kind to yourself and just be kind to everyone, because there's a lot going on in the world, and you can make a difference if you are just kind to someone. You're making a difference in someone else's life. You're just like leading your life in an unconventional way, because not everyone is doing the same. Just be an example and be kind.
Valuable message that you want to share with our audience?
So something that I have realized very late in my life, and something which I like usually read in books, but I never thought like, oh, this can also like apply to me. This is something like even Ellen DeGeneres says like, be nice to everyone, be kind to everyone, because somehow I feel, and I want to echo the same thing, like just be nice in this world when not like when things are not going well, and not just because of current situation, but every day is a challenge for people. You never know what other person is going through in his or her life. So if you can just be kind to someone, it will make a lot of difference in their life. This is coming from my personal experience. When I felt like, now when I feel like things were very different when I was a kid, and I feel like if just one person would have been nice to me when I was a kid, things might have been different. I don't have regret for that, but I just feel like you don't have to make fun of people, you don't have to bully people, you just be nice to them. Tell your kids that in school they should be nice to other people. At your workplace, be nice to your colleagues, be nice to your managers or like supervisors or people who you are leading. It will make a lot of difference in their life. So actually like this is something that I'm seeing these days, and which have kind of like affected me as an organizer, and now I'm like evaluating if I want to be a community organizer or not. The reason is, okay, like when the situations were good, when there was no coronavirus thing, and like when conferences and events were happening regularly and at the same time, when things go well, we all appreciate it, right? We all are like, oh wow, this conference was so great. I learned a lot from it. I got to network with people. I met some amazing speakers, or like even as a speaker, I'd be like, oh my god, the audience was so nice. Um, and as an organizer, I'd be like, wow, this event was a great success. But in this situation, like when we should be avoiding social gatherings, when we should be doing social distancing, and because of that, now when the conferences are getting cancelled or moving virtual, I think we all should be nice to each other, and we all should support each other, because no one planned this thing. No one was like, oh no, we don't want to have like a conference, so we'll just cancel it off. No one is earning anything from it. Everyone is at loss in terms of financial, in terms of emotional loss. Just, it's not a good time for everyone. So now when conferences are getting canceled, just be kind to the organizers, and similarly, or like just give organizers the benefit of doubt that yes, I know, like even if I paid money for the conference, organizers are trying their best to not impact the conference. Like to provide the same value as you would get when you will attend in person. So this is something that I want to highlight, like just and it is not just for now, in for future as well. Like just be supportive. If things goes well, you always support that. So why not support them now when they need it the most?
With this, here's the end of our another amazing episode with Miss Riya Dashoriya. We are really thankful. We really look forward that you'll keep inspiring people and you'll keep helping people with your efforts, your public speaking, your events, knowledge sharing, and so on.